Would
This
you like to
conference will
record?
now be recorded.
Perfect. Hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Miss Marchesini, and I am one of our college advisors. I am joined by Mr. Ringet as well as Miss Stock for the presentation tonight. But we are so excited to have you guys here and just to talk a little bit about what we do and really just kind of kick off the conversation and talk a little bit about what students can be doing early on in freshman and sophomore year to prepare for college. A little bit about what we do in college advising. We help you build your college list. We will help you provide feedback on schools that you might be interested in. Every junior year, every junior will meet with either myself or Mr. Ringet, and we will have an individual meeting, talk a little bit about what you are interested in major wise, what colleges are on your list, and looking at how your transcript is so far, provide feedback on those schools. We review tons of college essays throughout the fall of students' senior year. We also will write counselor letters of recommendation for students should those be needed for their college applications. We'll answer questions about applications. Students tend to have a lot of questions about, what does this question mean? Or, why is it asking me this? So we will help with those kind of like logistical questions about applications. We plan tons of programming throughout the year. In the fall, we really hit it hard with our monthly college knowledge nights. We have our college fair coming up next week, which is kind of why we wanted to have this meeting to really kick that off. But we provide tons of programming throughout the year and work with test prep companies and all that jazz to really provide everything that you might need for the college process. We also bring college reps to campus for visits. There will be more on that later, so I won't dive too deep into that. What we really do, we provide tons of information. So for the students and parents, check your emails. We provide tons of information about pretty much anything relating to the topic of college throughout the year. I'm sure you guys have already gotten it. I mean, so many emails about this. For all of you guys to be online with us tonight, you would have seen it. So we really just try to provide as much information as possible. One thing that we do not do, we do not hold a student's hand throughout the process. And we mean this in the best, most loving way. We love you guys. We support you. We are here for you. But we are not going to do the application for you. We're not going to knock on your door at night and remind you that that application is due the following day. We're not going to come pull you out of class and say, have you done this? Have you done this? This is your process. We can't want it more than you do. That's what we say all the time. So we give you all of the tools that you need to be successful in this process. You just simply have to use those tools. Um, so just to kind of start this off tonight and talk about what should we be doing now as a freshman or a sophomore, what should I be focusing on now to be the most prepared I can be for college? And the most important thing, that top bullet point, is focusing on good grades and building strong study habits. So, one thing that Mr. Ringet and I always say is that you can always edit your college essay. You can retake the ACT. We can add some leadership and involvement. What you cannot do is retake your freshman or sophomore year. So, for those who took Friar Seminar in the fall, we talked about it there. But we really, really want you guys to focus on building a strong foundation of good grades, the best grades that you can possibly get. And that's going to look different for every single person on here, but good grades and building strong study habits. Caring about school now, doing your work, really just putting in effort now so that you don't go down the line and senior year wish that, sophomore year you had just given a little bit more effort in your schoolwork. We also want you to just be thinking about future careers as well as colleges that may interest you. We just want you to be thinking about it. We don't want you, I mean, you can start writing them down or whatever, but we don't need you to be filtering through and building a super like intense list just yet. What I always say is, I just want your brain to be turned on to the idea of college, okay? When people are having conversations about college around you, turn your ears on, like literally just listen in. Think about the careers that might be of interest to you. Do you like them? Do you not like them? You don't have to make, super intense judgments yet. You just need to have those conversations, or just be, aware of those conversations, and just start thinking about it. So, this is a great time to mention next week is our spring college fair. Every single person on this call, parent, student, you are all invited to our spring college fair that we are having next Wednesday, January 31st. And it will be in the Legacy Gym. I believe it is at 6:30. But we all invite you to go to the college fair and just start talking to colleges. Even if you're a freshman, this is just a great way to learn about different schools and open your brain to the different schools out there. Again, you don't have to be asking them super, super like in depth questions. This can just be exploratory. Career night is also a great way to think about future careers. This is going to be on Wednesday, April 9th. So there will be more information about that. But it is a really great event that we do. It's something that we're really proud of. So we highly encourage all of you to go to career night and learn about different careers that are out there. It's not like a stereotypical career night from TV. We have like panels. There's different rooms. It's really cool. And then this is just my subtle plug that everybody on this call, student wise, has taken the U Science assessment or is taking the U Science assessment if you took Friar's seminar. And for the sophomores, it would be in your math classes last year. But U Science, I sent a lot of emails about it, but that is a great way to just explore different careers that may be of interest to you. So if you need your results or anything, you can always log into U Science and look at what your results were. But also, the other thing to do is talk with your parents, talk with your teachers, and talk with your guidance counselor about the classes that maybe you want to take next year. For the freshmen on the call, those sophomore year classes, how is that going to set me up for junior, senior year? For the sophomores, junior year is a huge year. So talking with your parents, teachers, and guidance counselor about what those next years are going to look like at BL, what classes you might want to take to either get deeper into a career that you're interested in or explore something that you had not thought about previously. So our next slide is going to go over course selections, and I am going to jump over to Ms. Stock to talk a little bit about course selections and what to expect there.
Thank you. Um, Good evening. I'm Ms. Stock. I'm one of the counselors and I'm the dual enrollment coordinator at Bishop Lynch. So we are in full swing for our course selections process. And what we're doing right now is all of your core teachers, your students' core teachers, are making recommendations for what they feel your student would do best in class-wise next year. So your levels change. So it would be honors, advanced classes, AP classes, and they are making those recommendations now. And all of that will be compiled onto a sheet that will say that we will give to your students on February 4th that they will be able to take home to you and have you look them over and review them. And then it'll also have a big sheet of all of your electives. This is a great time to sit down and kind of look at the electives that we offer and see which ones would be great for exploring interests that you're considering for possibly looking into majors in colleges. Looking at those placements, whether or not you got placed in a regulars class, an honors class, or an advanced class. If you disagree with some of those, communication is your key. You have to talk to your teachers, reach out to them. Parents, you can reach out to the teachers and ask for a meeting to see if you could discuss what can your student do to improve and possibly get that recommendation to an honors or an upper level class. Or you can decide, you know what, this is probably what's best. Some of our classes, depending on what you're thinking, the goal is obviously to have a high GPA and a lot of rigor on that transcript. Depending on the schools that you're looking at, definitely talk to your counselors, talk to Miss Marchesani or Mr. Ringette, and kind of play that little game of what's needed for your student to be the best you can be. So those course selections are a key component and they're coming up. So be on the lookout for those sheets. There we go. As it goes with dual credit, students are able to get some dual credit starting this semester of their freshman year. The PSAT, which every student takes in the fall, is the key to getting into dual credit. That and your teacher recommendations. So the scores are listed: 460 for the reading and writing portion and a 510 for the math portion. Any class with the advanced prefix is a dual enrolled class. A bunch of our classes have AP and advanced listed. That just means they're both. So the student will get dual credit through Eastfield and Dallas College. So they will have a college transcript just by completing the class and passing it. For the AP classes, they will need to take the AP test in the spring. And if they get a 3, 4, or 5 for quite a bit of schools, they will then be able to get college credit. So almost all schools, there are some that will not accept dual credit, but almost all of them will. That is a discussion that we can have. Just come in and have your student talk to their counselor or talk to the college advisors, and we can look at the schools and look at the courses and the placements and try to figure out what's best for your student and if they should take those AP classes. We always say do the AP test, especially if you're a sophomore or a junior and freshman, because you just don't know where you're going to go yet. And so it's always better to err on the side of caution and get those tests in just in case.
Thanks, Miss Stock. So obviously the most important thing right now is to kind of focus on your academics and what you're doing outside of the classroom. But as Miss Marchesini said, it is so important to start thinking about what you're looking for in a college. Again, we're not expecting you to have a list down right now, and what you're looking for may change over the next year, next couple years, and that's perfectly okay. You're young, things change. Now, we do want you thinking about those elements in a school where you might be happy, where you might be successful, what might be best for you and your family. So, we've listed a few of the big ones here that we always tell students to think about. I always feel like size, location, cost, and programs tend to be the four big hitters that students will make decisions based on. And they dive a little bit deeper than just the word. So when we talk about size, I do think it's really important to keep an open mind. I know many of our students have never been in a large school before, and you don't know if that setting is going to be the right fit for you. So taking college tours is going to be so crucial in this process because it allows you to kind of get feels for different types of institutions. When I think about size, I think about, do you want a setting where most of the people on the campus, everybody's pretty intertwined in different ways. Are you looking for that smaller liberal arts type of institution, or are you looking for something a little bit bigger? Maybe you don't mind sitting in a lecture hall class. Maybe that's a setting where you actually thrive. I always like using the example of my cousin and I, who grew up really close and are close to this day. I went to a small private school for one semester after attending a large public school the first semester. I hated the small private school. I didn't like that it was so small. But on the flip side, my cousin loved that environment. He thrived in it. And then I found myself able to thrive at a big school. So understand what's important to you. And even large schools are very different from each other. I will say that there is a massive difference between Ohio State and the University of Iowa when it comes to size. So understanding, just because it's a large school, some of them can be a little bit on that smaller size. When it comes to location, obviously people think about in-state versus out-of-state. They think about distance from Dallas. Maybe it's a certain radius. Maybe it's a certain part of the country. But a few things that I always like to bring up that I know students often don't think about, but the parents probably do, is looking at things like, is there an airport in that town? How easy is it to get there? Do I have to drive 3 hours to get to the nearest airport just to fly home? Is it a day's drive away? Is that something that's important to you? It may not be. You may not feel that, coming home 2, 3, 4 times a year is going to be an issue. Another thing to consider is, are you looking for something in a city? Are you looking for something in a college town? And again, cities and college towns are going to vary. There's a big difference between, New York City and Columbus, Ohio. Both would be considered cities. There's also a big difference when you look between, say, a Iowa City, Iowa, and a Madison, Wisconsin. Again, both college towns, but very different in how they are. So kind of figuring out what that feel in the location is for you. Cost is obviously for some families a big piece of this, and we know we're not blind to the fact that college can be really expensive. So I think it's really important, parents, to somewhat have that conversation with your students if you're comfortable having it, because what we hate to see is all of a sudden we're working with a student and they inform us that cost isn't going to be an issue, and all of a sudden we talk to the parents and it's a completely different story. So sometimes being on the same page, if you're comfortable doing that, can be good. It helps us kind of build a students list as well. Looking at the different programs that are offered, I if a student wants psychology or biology or things like that, I don't look too much into that because pretty much every school is going to have a program like that. It's when you're starting to look at things like aviation or engineering or nursing or architecture, types of programs like that aren't offered everywhere. So making sure that you're finding a school that has the programs that you're looking for, especially if they're, kind of niche. Also, I one thing we Miss M and I both can't stand is rankings. Um, we could sit here and talk to you about rankings for an hour, but we're not going to bore you with that. We're so much bigger on fit and finding a place where you're going to be successful. I like using, the different programs as an example. The University of Missouri is not a super difficult school to get into. Doesn't jump into the top 25 in the U.S. News and World Report, but their journalism school is outstanding. My favorite school to recommend when it comes to architecture is Kansas State, and I know Miss M can talk to you a lot more about that if that's your interest. My alma mater, Western Michigan, is one of the best aviation schools in the country. Again, all three of those schools not super competitive to get into, but those programs, once you get inside them, are absolutely outstanding. Of course, considering things like what is the social scene of the school? Do you want to get into Greek life? Do you want to go to football games on Saturdays? Or maybe you want just to be able to explore the city that it's in. So, what's important to you in that realm? Are you going to be involved in music, sports? What are you looking for something like that? So, figuring out those important things to you, if you start thinking about them now, it's going to help make your next, 2 3 years a lot easier. And when Miss M and I have those conversations with you about, what are you thinking, we can move a little bit quicker and kind of get that process going a little bit more if you are thinking about what's important to you. Again, this can change. This doesn't have to stay the same. Now, we really do want to see you taking college tours, even as a freshman and sophomore. If you have older siblings, uh, make sure that you're going on the tour with them and taking in what the college is like. We always say, you know, maybe you go to a tour of the University of Oklahoma. Well, think about what you like about OU, but also what you think about like different elements of OU. So be thinking about all that because maybe you go to OU and you're like, you know what, I didn't really like it, but I loved this. And we can help you find different schools that fit that. Additionally, we want to see that, maybe you're going on a tour in, say, Iowa. We might recommend going to see the University of Iowa and Iowa State and Drake and Grinnell. So you get to see, small, medium, and large. I think that's really important to be able to see those because you might be thinking, I want something really big. And then you go and see a smaller institution and you think this is absolutely perfect. And please keep an open mind. You never know when you might stumble upon like the perfect school that you didn't even know existed. So trust us, we see schools that some of you may have never heard of, and quite frankly, I fall in love with some of those schools. So um, we're happy to help you find any of those that might not be thinking about. Again, another plug for attending our college fair next Wednesday night. We currently have about 60 schools registered from around the country. So, super excited about that. And we're going to continue to bring in reps into in the spring semester. They're not going to be nearly as many as there were in the fall, but they'll start ramping up again in the fall as well. So speaking of college reps, every single school has a representative that covers Bishop Lynch or Dallas or state of Texas or the Southwest or wherever it might be. They're the ones that are the experts on their schools. We definitely have some good information about a lot of schools, but we're not the experts on them. But your admissions counselors are. So whether you have questions about certain programs, the admissions process, scholarships, student life, anything like that, we really encourage you to reach out to your admissions counselors. A simple email, talking to them at college fairs, talking to them when they visit campus, anything like that can be great. Not only do you get the information you need, you're also starting to build a relationship with that rep. And that rep can sometimes be an advocate for you, whether it be for admissions, scholarships, financial aid, whatever it might be. Additionally, there are schools that track something called demonstrated interest. So, what demonstrated interest is, they see that you are actually caring about applying to their institution. There are some schools that don't care about it. A lot of the large public institutions, UT, A&M, they don't really care about the demonstrated interest. But a school like Baylor, Tulane, some of those schools really do track it. So, attend those information sessions that they have in Dallas. Talk to them when they're on campus, visit their campus, email the reps. All of that can only help you in the process. I know we have a senior this year that absolutely loved Baylor and was constantly communicating, going to every event, and they knew the student really well and was able to help them line up some potential scholarships, invited them to different events. So it is definitely in your best interest. I will be sending out a document in the next few days on tips and tricks for talking to college reps. So for college fairs, for rep visits when they come to campus. But additionally, one recommendation that we really have is fill out almost have stickers with your name, your address, your phone number, your email, your grade, all of that in there, because schools will sometimes ask you to fill out inquiry cards, and rather than printing your name, and I know some of these students handwriting is horrible. I've read these inquiry cards before. Having a sticker on it makes it really easy for them to get the accurate information for you.
Okay, so my favorite thing that we have within college advising is our platform, which is called Maya Learning. So, if any of you have students who graduated from BL previously, or have students that went to different schools that use Naviance, we used to use Naviance, but we moved over to Maya Learning last year, and everything has been all the better because of it. So Mr. Ringet sent out an email about login details for Maya Learning. For the students on the call, you will always, always, always use the sign in with Microsoft button, because we have a single sign on with the BL Microsoft system, which is great. For the parents on the call, you all have access to your student's Maya Learning profile. You will just use your email address that is registered with BL through the Veracross system, and you'll click forgot password and be able to reset your password and make your own. But Maya Learning is the best tool to use to start your college search. So there is a universities section within the platform where you are able to search for colleges, and you can search based on a variety of factors. Which, like Mr. Ringet was talking about, all of those little bullet points that we had of location, cost, academic programs, etc. There's all of those, but within those, you can put in a distance from a certain radius. If you want to put in a certain city within a state, instead of just having to do the state, you can do that. You can search by the sports that they offer, the academic programs that they offer, their size, what type of town they're in. So you can really search based on a variety of factors. We always tell you to start there if you don't know where to begin. And then you're also able to favorite schools and save them into your Maya Learning list. Maya Learning also will connect with your Common Application. So we love it because it helps us down the line when you guys do start applying to colleges, and it helps us send your documents and keep track of your applications down the line. But for right now, it is the best tool to use to get started on your research. Each individual university page within Maya Learning will have a ton of information about each school. One great thing is that a lot of the time it's going to have that admissions rep that covers Bishop Lynch. It's going to have their email, like their information in it, which is great. But you can also see what type of application materials are required, how many essays they have. This is all great information down the line. But the best thing to look at is the admissions tab, which actually gives historical data of applicants from Bishop Lynch. If any of you are familiar with the scatter plots that were in Naviance, Maya Learning also has those too. So it'll show a student's GPA and test score. Won't show their name, but their GPA and test score, and then what their admissions decision was. So you're able to see maybe where you are at within that scatter plot and what your decision might look like based on past applicants from BL. One great thing too is that our college visits, like with the different reps, go through Maya Learning, so you're able to see what colleges are visiting campus in the future. It is amazing. I love Maya so much. Students bookmark it, parents bookmark it, everybody bookmark it, because it is really just the best tool to just do all of this college advising throughout the next couple of years. And then another favorite topic of mine, talking about majors and careers. So, U Science, this is my plug. I was just doing the U Science assessment in some of the Friar seminar classes this week. So, for all of the freshmen on the call, all of you, if you took Friar seminar, should have your U Science test as well as your results. Either you're taking it or you're getting your results. But the U Science assessment, I just can't say enough about it because it really goes based on just your natural talents and strengths, the things that are you are just naturally good at. For the parents that maybe haven't seen the emails about U Science, it is whenever we get the question of, well, is there a test that my student can do that can just give them a list of careers that they might be a fit for? That's U Science. It's a assessment that goes based on a variety of brain games that measure a ton of different things, visual comparison speeds, vocabulary, et cetera, et cetera. And then it also has an interest profiler within it. So it not only looks at your students' natural strengths and talents, but also looks at their interests and will form a list of careers that may be a fit for them. And so all the students in freshman year this last year, if they took Friar Seminar, we took U Science during that. And then for the sophomores, we took it during math classes last year. But remember what I always say about the U Science assessment results, this is a compass, it's not a roadmap. So you do not have to go into any of the careers that you are matched with. It simply just points you in a general direction. Should you choose to go in that direction, that is up to you. But one thing that I am really passionate about, because I did not have any career counseling when I was in high school, I always see what I call the class to major pipeline. So if a student likes math and science, they should go into engineering or they must go into engineering. If you love math, you should go into accounting. If you like English, you should go into journalism or writing. And yes, that can be true in some cases. But I used to really love biology, for example. I majored in biology. That was not a good fit for me. Just because I liked biology in high school didn't mean that I actually liked majoring in that hard science in college. So I always want students to consider more than just simply the class subjects that you enjoy or don't enjoy. Do you love giving presentations? Do you like group projects, or do you always prefer to work alone? Do you like working with your hands and creating things? Or if we set you in front of a computer and asked you to code something or, figure out a solution to something that was on a computer, is that where you really lose yourself? That's kind of what we want you to be thinking about, much more than I like science, so I need to go into healthcare, because sometimes that's just not a match. And we really want you to think a little bit more deep about the assignments, the projects, the things that really excite you. And one great way to just kickstart that thought is by attending Career Night on Wednesday, April 9th. We love it. We want to see you there. I believe it is for house points, but Career Night is amazing. It's we have a lot of BL alumni, BL adjacent people, so parents, friends, alumni that all are in different careers, in different points in their careers, and they are excited to talk to you about what they do. So please go.
Yes, please go to Career Night. And it's something that students can go to every single year. You don't need to wait until your junior year. We definitely encourage it freshman, sophomore year. We try not to recycle the same panelists every year so you can get some new interesting feeds. But changing the topic a little bit, a couple things we get asked about all the time, and we definitely want to clarify for you: rank and GPA. So BL is a non-ranking school. That doesn't mean we don't have a rank. We certainly have an internal rank, and we keep that rank for purposes of the University of Texas at Austin and Texas A&M at College Station. So UT just announced that they're auto-admitting the top 5% in every Texas graduating class. For Texas A&M, it is the top 10%. Now, that doesn't mean that you're guaranteed entry into your specific major at those schools. It just guarantees you entry into those universities. Um, we'll certainly talk to you more and more about UT and A&M and those stats and the data we're seeing as we move forward, especially going to top 5% and just how much more competitive both schools are getting. If a student is in the top 5 or top 5% or top 10%, we'll certainly let you know. We don't want to leave you in the dark on that. We'll let you know that right now you're in the top 10%, or you know what, you're just outside of it. So it might give some students a little bit extra kick to work a little bit harder that next year. There's certainly a lot of movement from freshman, sophomore year into junior years. So if you're not in there at the end of the first year, don't worry, there's still time. Um, Rankings, though, for UT and A&M are finalized at the end of the spring semester of your junior year. So after that, it is set. GPA. GPA is on a 100-point scale. We are not on a 4.0 scale. I want to repeat that. When you ask us for your 4.0 GPA, we don't have a true, accurate 4.0 GPA. There's one that shows up on your transcript, but if a school is going to recalculate GPA, that GPA is not going to be accurate. So we don't want you thinking about that number because it can certainly throw off students sometimes, can throw off parents sometimes when you're thinking, oh, I have an 85, so my GPA is going to say 3.5. That must mean I have a 3.5. Well, the University of Oklahoma is not going to recalculate it to 3.5. We've seen that happen all the time. We just want to be, upfront and clear with you. Now, to give you an example or to explain, I guess, how our GPA is calculated to the 4.0 scale that shows up on your transcript, if you have a 90 or above, you're going to have a 4.0, whether you have a 90 or a 102. If you have a grade in the 80s, you're going to have a 3 point something. And if you have a grade in the 70s, you'll have a 2 point something. So what that means is you will take, if your grade's in the 80s, you will take the number. So you'll turn the 8 into a 3, move the decimal point to the left one spot, and finish out the number. So if you have an 85.3, you're going to have a 3.53 GPA. If you have an 87.2, it'll be a 3.72. If you have a 79.8, it'll be a 2.78. So that's just kind of how our GPA is recalculated to a 4.0 scale. Again, there are some schools that will take that number directly off our transcript, but not all of them. In fact, we're seeing more and more schools go to a point where they are recalculating it. There are some schools that will take your 100-point GPA and divide it by 25, and that's how they get your 4.0 number. Some schools have their own calculation. You might be able to find some online that can give you a general idea of where that 4.0 GPA might be recalculated to. Again, don't ever use that number because it's never going to show up on your transcript. It's not accurate, but just wanting you to be aware of all of this. So the moral of the story, we are on a 100-point GPA scale. We do not have a 4.0, like a true 4.0. So if you come ask us what's my 4.0, we don't have a true 4.0. So just have to get that off my chest. We get that question an awful lot. We know it's very confusing. I've been doing this for 5 years, so it makes sense to me, but I understand if for students and for families. So if you ever have questions, just let us know. We're happy to help. Okay, when it comes to testing, right now as a freshman, sophomore, the tests that you are currently taking are the PSAT and AP exams. So Miss Stock talked all about AP exams and not really going to touch on those. Miss Maloof is our AP coordinator, so if you ever have questions, feel free to reach out to Miss Maloof. I know she'll be happy to help you, and she can get you in contact with us too if there's ever questions on should we take this exam or not. But the PSAT, you'll take your freshman, sophomore, and junior years. It is never used for college admissions. However, it is really great practice for when you're taking the SAT and when you're taking the PSAT as a junior. So as a junior, the PSAT does matter a little bit. Um, for your junior year, the scores can be used for national merit consideration and national recognition programs. Those are great awards that you can receive that can help earn scholarship money. When you talk about national merit semifinalists and finalists, they can receive full tuition and full ride scholarships. Full rides don't really exist too much anymore, but in that case, you can find one. I do want to add something Ms. Stock mentioned as well. PSAT freshman sophomore year though can be used for dual enrollment placement, so it still is super important. Okay, ACT SAT. Now ACT and SAT are becoming more and more important again. We are seeing more and more schools going back to requiring these. So some popular ones include UT Austin, University of Georgia, any Florida public university, University of Tennessee. All of those schools have gone back to requiring test scores. So if you don't have it, you won't be considered for admissions. So we are really encouraging everybody to take the ACT or SAT. We don't personally have a preference, and neither do colleges on which exam you take. Take the one that's going to work best for you. Our recommendation is typically take it 2 to 3 times. Um, More than three can kind of start getting overkill. Stats show that usually 2 to 3 is when you see kind of that consistent growth in score. Now, most schools will require a test score for scholarship. So another reason the ACT or SAT is really important, it can help you get a lot more money at certain schools. And that might be an instance where we encourage a student to take the exam another time. So maybe you are 1 point off of, $5,000 increase in scholarships. So we definitely will work with you in situations like that, but please make sure you're communicating with us. Our recommendation is to typically take the ACT or SAT their junior year. Um, that tends to be what we will tell students to do. You can certainly take it beforehand. Ideally, you won't be testing too much into your senior year. If you are, it's just to kind of try to improve your score a little bit. One recommendation is having at least one semester of Algebra 2 under your belt before taking the exam. Now, when it comes to accommodations, if you receive accommodations for extended time or anything and are currently using those, you should be good to be eligible to use them for the ACT, SAT, APs, PSAT. However, if you are eligible for extended time and don't utilize it at all, um, our recommendation is to start using it just so that way you are eligible um, for that extended time if you do wish to have it for any of those standardized tests. Please email Miss Howry if you have any questions about that.
Okay, so one question that we just get all the time is what are colleges really looking for? And the biggest thing and the reason that, on that earlier slide, when it was like, what can you be doing now? And that answer was, having good grades and a good foundation is because the first and most important thing that a college is looking for in an application is going to be your transcript. Whether a college is simply just looking to make sure that you have a certain GPA and that is it and you're admitted, or if they are looking at that plus other items, the transcript is something that cannot really be outdone. They are looking not just for good grades, but they are looking to see that you have taken rigor at Bishop Lynch. But like Ms. Stock said, when it comes to course recommendations, we want students to really be able to achieve the best grades that they can, while taking the most rigor that they can. But we really do want to find that balance. Sometimes it's a fine line between taking a more rigorous class versus another, getting a B versus a C in something. So we really want to be mindful of that. But that is what colleges really simply are looking for. Um, then we get a lot of questions about involvement. And we get questions from students saying, I don't know what to be involved in. I'm so overwhelmed about involvement. Parents are like, my student's not involved enough. What should they be involved in? The involvement that looks best to colleges is involvement that you are actually interested in and participate in. Not just because you think it looks good, not just because you want to get a cord at graduation, not just because everybody else is doing it. It's involvement that you can talk about, that you have bullet points that you can say, what you did, projects that you accomplished, the way, the reason that you were involved in it, and be able to just have some things to talk about. Involvement that maybe you could talk about in your college essay, but that is the involvement that looks good. So, being a part of an honor society or a club at Bishop Lynch for 1 year and doing that, every year being just a part of 100 different clubs for 1 year each versus three really solid activities that you dug into, you grew from, you were able to talk about is going to be much better if you're able to do that for 4 years. So for the sophomores, you definitely still have time to dig in and grow. Freshmen, you really have a lot of time to dig in and grow in some of these organizations, whether it's the house system, whether it is going to be an honor society or a club or something outside of school that you've been involved in. But that's what colleges look for. They look for involvement that a student is genuinely interested in and that they genuinely care about, and obviously you show that consistent, just through consistent involvement with that program, that organization, whatever it is. And then your essay, we get a lot of questions about, what should my college essay be about? Does it have to be a sad sob story that makes the admissions rep cry? No. The college essay is something that you are able to write about anything, because they give topics, prompts, for the Common App essay, which is your personal statement. There are going to be topics and prompts that they give you, but topic of choice is also a prompt. So you can simply write about anything. But if there's ever anything throughout the next couple of years that you feel like would make a really good story for a college essay, we just want to encourage you to maybe keep a note in your phone or something about it. But this is going to be your chance to tell colleges your story. So they will be looking at that, and that's your chance to kind of tell them about yourself in your own words. Now, applying to college, this I'm just going to glaze over. I really don't want to get too far into the weeds with this because applications are pretty much all applications, minus a couple. Majority of them are going to open during August 1st of your senior year, and that is a while away. So I do not want to get too deep into this. But here are some keywords, some things that as you're talking with colleges or on your when you're on tours, you may hear some of these words. So I just wanted to bring them up. So ways to apply, the most common way, haha, lol, the most common way to apply is through the Common App. So the Common application is a website where you fill out your personal information that every college is going to need. So your academic information, your demographics, your contact info, family information. You fill that out, And then every individual college has their own application that you can fill out that's going to pertain to your major and maybe some things that you want to get involved in on their campus, their essays. But pretty much almost every college out there is on the Common App, out there in the US at least, is on the Common App. It's very widely used, hence why it's called the Common App. But that's the most popular way that our students apply to colleges. Now, Apply Texas is the same exact concept where it's kind of like a big general application that goes out to the schools that you want it to. But this is just for in state institutions. There are some in state schools that only use Apply Texas, but that is few and far between. Majority of in state schools are going to use Common Application. UC app and the CSU application. Again, same exact concept. This is just for California schools. So the California schools are not on the Common Application or anything. They don't have their own institutional application. They are on the UC for the University of California system, and the CSU, California State University system applications. And then you can also apply directly on a school's website. Lots of colleges will probably try to direct you to the Common App, but a lot of them do still have their own native application. That's what they call it on their website, where you can apply online just to that school, doesn't go anywhere else. Types of admission, rolling admission is very popular with a lot of large state public schools. So when you see, we call them the red schools, when you see OU and Ole Miss and Arkansas and Tech, when all of those are coming out in the fall and you're like, well, where are the UT decisions or where are the TCU decisions? They just do their admission differently. Rolling admission is kind of like an assembly line. As the applications come in, they are processed, they're looked at, and then they're given their admissions decision. And a couple weeks later, that decision is sent out. So rolling admission means that they are just rolling down the line. It doesn't really close. It might have a closing date in the spring, but it's a very chill process. They're typically looking just for certain GPAs, and then they are good to go. If they hit that GPA, then you're good. Early decision is one we get a lot of questions about. This is the big, serious, scary binding application. So this is the one not a lot of students apply early decision. Like we'll maybe have between 10 to 12 maybe apply early decision each year. And even that seems like a big number when I'm thinking about it. We do not have a ton of students do early decision every year because this is where if you are applying to that college, then you are going to, like, if you are admitted, you are going to that college and you are canceling your applications everywhere else. So a lot of elite private schools do use early decision. It's mostly by a lot of private schools. Um, and this again is where if you apply to that school and you are admitted to that school, then you are going there and you are canceling your applications everywhere else. It doesn't matter where else you got in, you're canceling them. And then there's early action and regular decision, which are obviously, very widely, they're common everywhere. Early action is a deadline that is typically the earliest deadline that a school will offer. And then this means that you're typically going to get your decisions a little bit earlier than those who apply regular decision. Regular decision is the latest deadline that a school will offer, and you will just go through one round of application reading. I won't go too much into detail about all of this. I feel like I already went into a lot of detail, but we'll talk much more about this in later years. And then finally, thank you guys for bearing with us tonight. Just to wrap it up, how you can keep up with our office, talk with us, etc. Checking your email. This is for the students on the call because I know us adults, we love our emails. This is how we get by every day. Students, check your email. We're going to be in there probably. So check your email. We are very active via email. So we send out emails whenever there's something that we need to tell everybody. But we're very excited. This is our debut night, kind of, not really, but a little bit of a debut with you guys because we this year are so excited. We have our own little portal in the Veracross student and parent portal. Yay, yay, yay. So this is going to kind of be our reference page for all things. If you do not know how to register for the ACT or the SAT, or when the next testing date is, or what, all of the newsletter stuff that I've been sending out, what test prep is out there, what scholarship application. This is going to be a landing page for all of that. We are so excited. Our events are going to be on there, our contact information. If there's any question that you have about college advising, like it's probably going to have a resource on there. So I'm really pumped about it. It's going to be a really great landing page for you all. So it's a work in, we have it up. There's things on there. It is a little bit of a work in progress right now. But we're excited because if you go in your parent portal, you will find our little college advising page in there, and it's got resources on there. It's going to be really zhuzhed up and everything over this next year. So super pumped. This is also Plug City. Please follow BL College Advising on Instagram. At BL College Advising is the college advising Instagram page that I run. I love it so much. And for the students on the call, I know they love to see. We do takeovers every Tuesday. We'll have our first one for the spring next week. We'll have takeovers from past BL students living it up at their respective colleges. I post about events that are going on. I posted about this event. I'll post about our college fair next week. So tons on the BL College Advising Instagram page. If you use social media, definitely follow it. Our official one-on-one junior meetings with students are going to start during their junior year. We will meet one-on-one with everybody in the junior class in our caseloads, but until then, we are always happy to answer any questions. We can't typically schedule individual meetings with freshmen and sophomores because we do have to save a lot of our time for our seniors that are applying and everything with their college things, as well as now our juniors and meeting with them. We only have so many hours in a day. We got big caseloads. But if you ever have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email. If we need to, we can jump on the phone. We're happy to answer any questions. But we do just want to let you guys know that we do save a lot of our time for our juniors and seniors, as you would love when you guys are juniors and seniors. We save a lot of that individual in-person time for them so that we can make sure to meet with all of them. But as you guys are meeting with your counselors, we do work really closely with the counseling team. There are people, there are colleagues, we work with them. So if you are in meetings with the counselors and college comes up, we are always happy to jump in there and kind of provide guidance. So yeah, let us know if you ever have questions. I know our contact information was on the first page, but you can also find it in the portal. And again, we're in your inboxes a lot. So if you need us, you can find us. But thank you, Tony, for going back to that first one because oh, no, it's not. Sorry. I thought our contact info is on that first page, but it's not. Anyway, Tony, any final parting thoughts?
No, we can't wait to work with you all in the future. And students, you are always more than welcome to come say hello, and we're excited. And come to the
All
college fair
right.
next Wednesday.
All right. Thank you guys. Bye.